English by the Nature Method, Chapter 42, the 42nd chapter, A Kind Offer. Marshall now showed Storm the desk at which he was to sit when working. At both sides of the desk there were 4 or 5 drawers. We keep a good supply of paper, ink, pens, pencils, etc. in the drawers. Then it is unnecessary to go out and buy things of that sort every day, you see. For instance, the supply of pencils in this drawer that will last for 3 months and means that we shall not have to buy any more pencils for a long time. In the same way, the paper supply will last for 1 month. We use a lot of thin paper for copies, as we take a copy of every letter that we write. Sometimes we even take several copies of a letter when it is a very important one. You noticed, Marshall continued, that when we visited the different departments to see how the work was organized, we went from one floor to another by the stairs. Instead, we might have used the lift, which goes all the way from the ground floor to the top floor and stops at all floors. There is one lift for persons and another lift for goods. The lift that is used for goods can easily lift as many pounds as the weight of 20 big men. The one for persons is smaller. It takes 3 persons at a time. 5, said Storm. If I have to go up to the 4th floor, you may be sure that I shall take the lift. Now that I have seen all the different departments, I must say that I am really surprised at the size of this branch of the firm. Everything is bigger than I expected it to be. One reason for this, said Marshall, is that the manager is a very good businessman. All the departments work well together, even in the smallest things. All the work of the firm is very well organized. I don't think I ever saw a firm with more system and organization in its work, but then I haven't seen a great many yet. But to speak of something quite different, where are you staying? I have been staying at a hotel in Bloomsbury, answered Storm, but I shall have to find something cheaper. The manager told me that he thought you would be wanting a room, and I have an offer to make you. We have a bedroom at home which we never use. It was my sister's, but she is married now. Would you like to come and live with us? I live alone with my parents, as all my brothers and sisters are married, and I should be glad to have some company. Thank you very much. It's very kind of you. I shall be glad to accept your kind offer, especially as it will mean that I shall have pleasant company. I think it will be an advantage for you to live with us, said Marshall. There are many things you will want to see, and I might be your guide and show you the most interesting things. Thank you. It would be fine to have you as a guide to show me the town. As soon as we finish at the office this afternoon, we can go to your hotel and pay the bill, and then go straight down to my home. Have you got many bags? No, said Storm. I have only 1 bag, and there are so few things in it that it's not heavy to carry. I'm glad of this, for the weather is very hot, and it would not be very pleasant to carry a heavy weight in such a heat. Having got Storm's bag, the 2 young men went to the underground. In the streets the heat was still very great, but in the underground train the air was quite cool. After having got so hot, they were glad to feel cool again. Storm found the house of Marshall's parents to be a typical English house with 5 rooms. He was introduced to Mr. and Mrs. Marshall, after which Mrs. Marshall took him upstairs to his bedroom. He saw that there was a nice comfortable bed, a large table and armchair, a sofa, a chest of drawers, a wardrobe, and some other pieces of furniture. He was very happy to see so much furniture, much more than there had been in the hotel room. Storm opened his bag and took out some shirts, handkerchiefs, etc., and went to the chest of drawers and opened one of the drawers. As he had come to England for a fortnight only, he had brought very little linen and would have to buy some more in London. There were some pictures on the walls, but Mrs. Marshall said that perhaps he would like to hang up some pictures of his own or some photographs of relations or friends. Storm replied that he had no pictures to hang up, but he had a photograph of his father. He told Mrs. Marshall that he had no father now. His father was dead. I'm very sorry, said Mrs. Marshall, "to hear that your father is not alive. How long has he been dead?" "Let me see," answered Storm. "He was alive until shortly after I became a clerk. So he has been dead for 5 years." Mrs. Marshall now showed Storm some books in a corner of the room, upon which he could hang some of his clothes. He took one or two things out of his bag and hung them on hooks, and the rest he hung in the wardrobe. She also pointed to the door, which had a key in the lock, and told Storm that she would give him a key to the front door too. He thanked Mrs. Marshall for thinking of all these things, but said, however, that he didn't think it necessary to lock his bedroom door. Mrs. Marshall told Storm that if a button should come off his coat, she would be glad to sew it on again. "Such things," she said, "are not difficult for a woman to do. They are quite simple, because we do them so often, but they are not always simple for men." "That's extremely kind of you, Mrs. Marshall. Once, when I was in the country on holiday, I sewed on some buttons which had come off, but the next day they came off again. They were so badly sewn on. Although I really have only one thumb on each hand, as soon as I start sewing, I feel as if all 5 fingers were thumbs." "I think there is only one more thing to ask you about," said Mrs. Marshall, "after which I will leave you with my son. At what time would you like to get up in the morning, early or late?" "At home," Storm answered, "I usually get up about 7 o'clock in the morning. That suits us very well. My son usually gets up a little later, so you can have the bathroom first. There will be a special hook there for you to hang your things on." Mrs. Marshall now left the room, and the 2 young men sat down to have a talk. Storm sat down in the armchair, while Marshall lay down on the sofa and made himself comfortable. This was not difficult, for there were 2 or 3 very good cushions on it. "I'm afraid I shall fall asleep," said Marshall. "This is a cushion. Yesterday I lay down after dinner, and before long I was asleep. When you lie down on the sofa after a day's work and a nice dinner, you feel like a good sleep. But perhaps you would like me to help you to hang up the photograph. When we moved into this house, I put in the nails for all the pictures. I will go downstairs to get a nail for your photograph. This is a nail. It would be a good thing to get it hung up at once. Then the room will begin to look a little like home to you." Storm wanted to hang the photograph over the chest of drawers, and as it was too high for them to reach, Marshall stood on a chair. He was then able to reach the place where it was to hang, and before long the nail was in the wall and Storm's photograph put up.